Right, so this is where the magic starts to happen. All this lovely, beautiful stewing steak. Now, if, like our suppliers, we get all our meat from Plumgar's, quality meat, alright? But if, like ours, sometimes when the stewing steak comes, it comes in quite big bits. You know what I mean? That'd feed a little boy somewhere. Alright, so we're going to chop the bits up for steak. Alright, so chop them into just whatever sizes you want, really. Like I say, we tend to chop them up quite a bit, particularly for the younger ones. Not that it takes any chewing whatsoever, because if you cook it for long enough and you cook it properly, it doesn't take any chewing, it just melts, it just falls apart. So we've got all this lovely stewing steak, okay? Just bang that back on the heat. As you can see, I've switched to a larger pot, and that's only because, nice big pot, that's only because of the hungry Dodds family. We need a big pot, alright, lots of food. So all we're going to do, that lovely steak, lovely stewing steak, is just going to go in as it is, alright? We haven't floured it, we haven't browned it off, it's just going in like it is. Obviously there's flour in there, which will then stick to that, but because it hasn't been browned off, because it hasn't been closed up, all the juices and everything gets right in amongst it, and it is quality, quality beef. So nice. Oh, listen to all that sizzling away. Let's get that all in there. Alright, I did wash my board off before I chopped on it. What you may have noticed is my little knife. Alright, it may be small in stature, but this is the sharpest thing I've ever used all the way from Spain, and I use it for everything. Obviously, chop my veg, wash it, chop my beef, wash it. Alright, constantly washing it. Alright, but it is as sharp as a knife. Okay, in here you'll see I've got my part-boiled potatoes. Okay, all I'm going to do is I'm going to thinly slice them up, and what happens with them is then they sit across the top of the stew. Okay, I'll get to that shortly. Okay, so this is just going to all mix in, just keep stirring it. This pan's rubbish, by the way, it sticks too much. Alright, turn that heat right down now. Okay, the meat soon browns off in here. Okay, oh, the smells beautiful. Okay, starting to cook. Right, one thing I did was I pre-boiled the kettle. Okay, because we're just going to top this up, and again, this is where you can start to play around really. So we'll bang this in. Okay, again, depending on how rich, how thick, how smooth you want your sauce, depends on how much you put in. Now what I tend to do is I tend to do it just below the level of the veg and the meat. Okay, beautiful. And you can see the meat changing colour just with that heat from the water. So that's all nicely browning off there. Okay, as I say, now this is where you get your taste from. This is where the taste comes from. Touch of salt. Now you don't need a lot of salt. Alright, only because what I'm about to use in a minute, you get a very salty taste from. If you like your food quite salty, like I do like my food salty, put more in. Okay, now these, just your average stock cubes. Okay, also what are really good are the stock pots. If you ever come across the stock pots, they're really good. Okay, I tend to use 2 of these because, like I say, we're not a big family, but we're a big eating family. Pop it in. You could also mix these with the water beforehand if you want, but it still does the same job because the water's boiling in there anyway. So these just dissolve. They give you such a rich, thick, beautiful taste, and you get a bit of saltiness from them as well. So in they go. I also use a bit of Bisto. That thickens the sauce up slightly, and again you get a bit of saltiness from this. If you're not too fussed with the granules and you like your sauce a little bit thinner, don't put the granules in. Use a bit of soy sauce, you get a bit of saltiness from the soy sauce. Just a good sprinkle of them. Okay, and all we're going to do is give that a good mix up. And you can smell the different tastes already. It's different tastes. You can smell the different smells. Oh. So they're starting to break down those stock cubes. Alright, and that'll just start to bubble away. Now, red wine, or a nice stout, or a Guinness, just a good glug, yeah? Again, gives it that fuller flavour, okay? What red wine you use is entirely up to you. Don't worry about the alcohol content, it just burns out, alright? So if you're feeding the kid, don't worry, not going to get tipsy. The alcohol burns off and it just leaves you with that lovely velvety finish around the sauce. Alright, so we just have a good glug of red wine in ours, but like I say, you can use stout, you could use a can of Guinness. Oh, look at the colours now, look at the colours. Then it comes down to your herbs, alright? With a beef stew, we just use bay leaves. The best thing is you can do is just play around with different herbs. Obviously, don't be throwing things like, I don't know, dill or parsley, things like that. Save them for your fish, alright? You could throw sage in there. Sage is better with pork, but we tend to stick with bay leaves. The lovely aromatic infuses fragrance, that'll do for us. So they're going to go in at some point. So that's just going to cook away. I'll get back to you shortly.